Clementine's final season begins with what AJ only knows as normal. A walker writhing in pain under the boiling sun. Before long, a car speeds past, and inside it is none other than Clementine and her recently reunited best friend, Alvin Jr. Our first glimpse at AJ is while he's holding a gun, spinning the barrel out of boredom, something you'd hardly expect from such a young boy. The first interaction really establishes this dynamic, with AJ showcasing his dislike for being called a goofball, claiming he's grown up and even asking to drive. Of course, Clementine quickly shuts this down. Both are starving, searching for food and supplies. It's a dark and telling start to the game, setting up the themes of survival and trust. At what age is someone capable of defending themselves? When does childhood truly end? Yet Clementine lightens the mood by playing with a toy, showing that traces of innocence still linger in AJ, even as he wields a firearm he has undoubtedly used to kill many walkers. Before long, the two stop at an abandoned shack, hoping to find supplies. Here, we're introduced to the new combat mechanics, which feel smooth, intuitive, and highly enjoyable. But it's what comes after that sets the tone of the story, raising AJ. Clementine teaches him a key lesson. When in a new place, they listen for monsters and then find a way out. We're prompted with the idea that AJ is always listening. Inside the shack, they find a walker couple tied up with a sign requesting they be left alone. The player faces a choice: kill them to take their keys, or risk sending AJ into a dangerous, inaccessible area. Remembering a past incident in Season 2 with Bonnie and Mike, I chose to kill the walkers to keep AJ safe. Naturally, AJ takes note of this. Despite the grim situation, AJ reminds us he's still a child, wishing for a home, a place to stay. This moment is interrupted when AJ finds more bullets, leading to another teachable moment.
Always aim for the head.
AJ listens closely, much more than Clementine ever listened to Lee in Season 1. It feels like every action, every word has an impact on him. Shortly after, they find a stash of food, but it's rigged to explode.
It's rigged!
Their escape is chaotic, they're surrounded by walkers, and both Clementine and AJ barely make it out alive, saved at the last second by strangers. Clementine awakes to find herself patched up, desperate to find AJ. She encounters a small child who brandishes a knife. This standoff de-escalates when the leader of the group reassures her AJ is safe and they all agree to unarm. Here we meet Tennessee, a gentle, kind-hearted young boy, and Marlon, the group's leader, who escorts them around Erickson's school for troubled youth. Marlon remarks how both Clementine and AJ seem to fit that description. This line feels significant, foreshadowing how their pasts and personalities will intersect with the school's story. At the school, we're introduced to a cast of interesting characters: Ruby, Violet, Willie, and Lewis. Ruby, however, is furious with AJ for biting her, hinting at AJ's deeper struggles. When Clementine finds AJ in the piano room, he rushes to hug her in a beautifully cinematic moment. Lewis, a charming jokester, had been watching over AJ. It's here we learn about AJ's trauma. He doesn't like people sneaking up on him. When Clementine hands him a gun, Lewis is shocked, highlighting the contrast between AJ's hardened survivalist upbringing and the more sheltered lives of the other kids. This contrast sets up the story beautifully. AJ, who's had to grow up fast, meets kids who were sheltered and nurtured. In one heartwarming scene, Lewis plays piano, bringing AJ rare joy, but AJ's survival instincts kick in, saying the loud music is bad. Lewis invites AJ to try the piano, leading to a sweet moment where AJ begins to lower his guard and experience simple, innocent happiness. I know I'm going over a lot of the game, but let me set up the story before we get into the opinions and theories. Marlon Marlon soon asks for Clementine's help clearing walkers, introducing us to traps as a mechanic. Why didn't they use this more? During this, Clementine's fear of dogs resurfaces, reminding us of her traumatic past. Back at the school, AJ is startled by Marlon, hitting him instinctively. This leads to a pivotal moment where Clementine helps AJ reflect on his behavior. Looking at a crow eating a walker, AJ asks why it would do that, showing his curiosity about the world's harsh realities. He confides that he feels different, sensing that the other kids don't like him. Clementine encourages him to make friends, teaching him valuable social lessons. AJ then begins apologizing to Ruby for biting her, and learns about the other kids, like Mitch, Willie, Omar, and Asim. When AJ steals Asim's journal, Clementine teaches him the importance of respecting others' privacy. Meeting Tennessee, AJ is drawn to his drawings, sparking an interest in art. Back in their room, AJ mimics Tennessee, wanting to draw. When Tennessee asks for his pens back, Clementine can teach AJ about ownership and sharing, concepts foreign to a child raised on the road. One of the most heartbreaking moments comes at bedtime, when AJ insists on sleeping under the bed. Clementine kneels to his level, gently coaxing him to try the bed. It's a deeply moving scene, showing AJ's lingering trauma and how Clementine can guide him toward feeling safe and loved.
This bed is really soft.
Told you so.
It's really, really soft.
Good night, AJ.
By morning, AJ is happy and comfortable, having experienced his first peaceful night at the school. We get to teach AJ more the next day. AJ and Clementine meet Tennessee playing with toys. AJ eagerly wants to join, but struggles with sharing, a reoccurring theme. Clementine must once again teach AJ the value of ownership and sharing. It's moments like these that make AJ feel like a real child. In my opinion, it does it better than Season 1 did with Clementine. Later, Marlon introduces Rosie, the camp's dog. While AJ faces his social challenges, Clementine must confront her own fear of dogs. This balance of character growth is masterfully handled, as she will overcome it petting Rosie. Marlon will then proceed to show you the map of the school and the supposed safe zone, which will lead you to go on a venture with one of two groups of your choice. Either way, this will lead you to go back to the rigged shack to collect extra supplies after we discover the fishing shack was stolen from. Here we encounter Abel, a dangerous scavenger. I personally chose to let him take a small share to avoid conflict. When we get back to the school, Brody and Marlon are furious we left the safe zone. Tensions rise, but Marlon seemingly calms the situation, and the group sits down to eat. AJ finds joy drawing with Tennessee, forming his first real friendship, but that night, Clementine is awakened by shouting from the basement. She discovers Marlon and Brody arguing. It's revealed that the strangers are kidnappers who took Tennessee's sisters, Minnie and Sophie. Marlon, desperate to protect the group, had traded them away and told everyone they were dead. When Brody threatens to expose him, Marlon accidentally kills her and locks Clementine in the basement. After escaping, Clementine finally confronts Marlon, who spirals out of control, waving a gun and blaming her for Brody's death. The truth ultimately unravels. Marlon betrayed the group. He drops the gun, surrendering and admitting his mistakes. But it's here that AJ...
Don't.
What? I aimed for the head.
Now that we've been fully introduced to the world and its characters, we can shift our focus to the main subject and pick up the pace a bit. AJ is absolutely phenomenal, and the writers truly knocked it out of the park. How does a troubled youth with deep trauma navigate the complex and morally grey rules of survival? This is in fact the heart of the entire game. It's about not just growing up, but being born into a chaotic, messy world where violence is routine, yet everyone insists it's wrong, where killing is constant, but for some reason it's unforgivable when it involves other humans, even threats. Viewing the world through AJ's perspective makes the game infinitely more compelling. Do we even have the answers ourselves? After killing Marlon, AJ wrestles with difficult questions. What is a murderer? Why did Lewis call him one? If Marlon was bad, why shouldn't he be dead? These are deeply valid questions, and it's something I wish they had explored with Clementine in Season 1. While many claim Clementine is a protector, like Lee, the comparison isn't as straightforward as it seems. Lee was purely a protector, but Clementine is a mother to AJ. She doesn't just shield him from harm, she teaches him right and wrong through her actions and words. This maternal role is why it's so crucial to guide AJ correctly, even when you might agree with the wrong choices. A great example is when you can tell AJ Marlon had it coming, but I chose to tell him what he did was wrong. Yes, Marlon was a murderer, and maybe he deserved it. But killing him in cold blood when he wasn't a threat is still murder. AJ must not only understand this intellectually, but feel it emotionally, just as a mother would teach. The other kids except for Ten and Violet now despise AJ. This forces Clementine to teach AJ about atonement, the act of making amends. Unfortunately, this doesn't sit well with many of the kids, who vote to expel them anyway. AJ, confused and angry, wonders why his apology didn't work. But as they're forced out, Clementine and AJ are ambushed by none other than Lily.
Oh my god. Clementine, it's you?
Who turns out to be one of the leaders of the child kidnappers. She's also accompanied by Abel, the man from the shack. A fight ensues, and with the help from Lewis and Violet, Clementine escapes into a Walker herd, where she encounters James, a pacifist who refuses to kill humans, including walkers. The juxtaposition of meeting Lily, a ruthless survivalist, and James, a staunch pacifist, is fascinating. They represent two extremes of what AJ could become: merciless or delusional. James helps AJ recover and gives Clementine a much needed rest before guiding them back to the school. Despite the other kids' feelings, Clementine and AJ are given a chance to prove themselves by helping set up defenses against the raiders. Even the cold-hearted Mitch begins to warm to Clementine as she earns their trust through her leadership and determination. As weeks pass, Clementine takes on a leadership role, balancing the care for AJ with earning the group's trust. During this time, she experiences violent dreams about McCarroll Ranch, where she found AJ. These dreams are unsettling, but they're interrupted as AJ's trauma comes to the forefront once again. Standing on a desk, he declares he wishes to never sleep again to stay safe. AJ tries to step up, offering to patrol for Clementine, but her nurturing side prevails as she promises to keep the bad dreams away, letting him sleep in her bunk. These tender moments solidify the deep bond between Clementine and AJ. The next morning, defenses are inspected, and you can choose to go on a date with either Lewis or Violet. I'll refrain from commenting on the ships as I'm terrified of both Cluis fans and Clementine fans? Later, Lily and her raiders finally attack. Everything is going well until the plan falls apart when 10 surrenders, hoping to reunite with his sister after Lily promises that she's okay. Because of this, Mitch is killed, and either Lewis or Violet is taken hostage along with other children. Fortunately, Clementine and AJ capture a raider, Abel, setting the stage for another lesson for AJ. This episode was phenomenal, and it all ties back to AJ. He's always watching and listening. Every moment shapes who he becomes. But make no mistake, this episode also shows that Clementine carries her own trauma. Unlike Lee, she must grapple with her own demons while guiding AJ through his. This is why I say that Clementine doesn't simply become Lee, she becomes something far more personal. As I've stated, something similar to a mother. At such a young age, she doesn't protect him, she teaches him everything he'll ever know. And up next, AJ will grapple with the value of human life, and whether some actions can strip it away entirely. Episode 3 begins sorrowfully, with a shot of the school and an air of sadness. Willie mourns Mitch, even going as far as to push 10 and blame him for his death. Meanwhile, Lewis informs Clementine of Abel's capture, leading to her and AJ giving him a less than warm welcome. Here you're presented with multiple choices, ranging from pleading to outright torture. What you choose in this situation will be witnessed by AJ. Is it ever justifiable to torture bad people if it means saving your friends? And how much pain can you inflict before it becomes inhumane? No matter your decision, Abel ultimately reveals the location of the boat where your friends are held, in trade for being killed before he becomes a walker. The game then reminds you that AJ looks to you for guidance in this world. If you were like me and chose to be a tiny bit violent, the game promptly points out you tortured a man in front of AJ. The kids then move to scout the boat, encountering Minnie along the way, who is now entirely brainwashed. If they're going to raid the boat, they'll need help from someone who can walk among the dead and create herds. James. However, James insists on a test first, wanting to show Clementine the walkers when they're at peace. This leads to one of the most hauntingly beautiful scenes in the game, the wind chimes moment. Afterward, I made it clear that walkers are still dangerous, which AJ took note of. James will agree to help regardless, and a new plan is set in motion. Before the raid, we return to the school one last time. A date with either Lewis or Violet is followed by a party. This scene deserves special attention. These children, all troubled, traumatized, or misbehaved, showcase the themes of redemption and moral complexity. AJ, although young, observes this. He knows basic right from wrong, but has never seen someone truly redeem themselves. Characters like Ruby, Lewis, Willie, and Ten prove that even the most misbehaved children can find redemption. This moment teaches AJ about the grey areas of morality and shows him he isn't beyond redemption himself. AJ, though troubled and traumatized, still has a chance. This is one of the things I truly love about the game, the focus on troubled children and how AJ fits in really well here. Before the big day, Clementine has a heartwarming flashback with Lee. She questions her ability and decisions, and it's emotional to see Lee again. This moment isn't just nostalgic, it reveals Clementine's longing for guidance. Despite her strength, she's still a child, forced into the roles of a mother and leader. When Lee reassures her that he's proud, her immediate rush to hug him is so deeply moving.
You'd be so proud.
You mean more than I already am?
This scene is one of the season's highlights, showing us how much Lee shaped the Clementine we see today. Upon waking, the group prepares for the mission. James pulls Clem aside, warning her that AJ is at risk of becoming a murderer. He shares his own dark past of killing for a group, and fears AJ might follow the same path. While I agree with James that no child should have to kill, he fails to see that in this world, sometimes it's the only option. The mission launches and the kids infiltrate the boat to rescue their friends. They find Minnie, who pretends to help but betrays them, leading to Clem being locked up. Left with no choice, Clem and AJ plan their escape. This is when Dorian and Lily appear. Lily gives a chilling villain speech, revealing Sophie's death and Minnie's indoctrination. A scuffle ensues, and AJ finally steps up. AJ delivers an impassioned speech, declaring Lily a monster who must die.
Dang.
Recognizing his potential as a soldier, Lily tries to manipulate him. Meanwhile, through all of this, a bomb is planted and ticking away, adding urgency. When Lily steals AJ, Clem escapes, fights Minnie, and Lewis kills Dorian accidentally. The climax unfolds as Clem, AJ, and James confront Lily. A desperate fight leaves Lily wounded and unarmed. AJ picks up the gun. Lily pleads for her life, but this moment isn't about her anymore. It's about AJ. Should he take her life? In my playthrough, I felt Lily couldn't be trusted. As Ten said, she had caused too much harm. I let AJ execute her, believing he needed to learn to eliminate true evil, like Kenny with Carver or Javier with Badger. However, AJ's youth was overlooked. He shoots repeatedly, going too far, reminding me more and more of Kenny with Carver. This made me realize the deeper narrative at play. James and Lily symbolize the meaning of necessary violence, a core theme of not just AJ's arc, but the whole franchise. Before wrapping up the story with episode 4, I want to delve into this idea and explore AJ's relationship with violence in season 4. Let me ask you a question, one you can answer in your head or in the comments. At what point is violence acceptable? In self-defense? When your friends are in imminent danger? What about when there's only a possibility of danger without certainty? Finally, what if someone seems harmless but might not be? Should violence still be an option? Now, imagine these questions aren't being answered by you, but by a 5-year-old child. Suddenly, it's not about the actions taken, it's about the lasting damage such decisions can leave on that child's mind. Unlike Clementine in season 1, who could only witness Lee make violent choices, AJ in the final season is the one making those choices. What's James's role? To force you to confront the morality of violence. What's Lily's role? To push you to decide how far you'll go to protect innocence or prioritize survival. AJ's story is about navigating the thin line between necessary and unnecessary violence, pitting a child's innocence against the brutality of the world. The confusion you feel is intentional, because life itself is a maze of moral grey areas. In my playthrough, I told AJ killing Marlon was wrong because he was unarmed and surrendering, but later I told him to shoot Lily, who in that moment also appeared unarmed and defeated. To AJ, these decisions aren't nuanced. He's a child. By my actions, I essentially taught him it's okay to kill unarmed people as long as he believes they're evil. The final season doesn't lecture you or dictate what's right or wrong. It observes you through AJ's eyes, critiquing your decisions. This theme is especially tied to violence. If you pay attention, most of the pop-ups reminding you of AJ's presence occur after violent acts. Nearly every major argument and plotline in the game is rooted in AJ's choice to either act violently or hold back. This all culminates in one of the final decisions of the game, where you judge whether AJ is ready to make a life or death choice. And that choice, it determines whether AJ chooses violence to save someone else or back away, letting what will happen happen. My theory is that Season 4 isn't just a story about raising a child or finding new friends. It's an exploration of violence itself. Characters like James exist to make you reflect on your morality. The game convinces you it's about AJ's growth, but in reality, AJ is a reflection of you. His actions mirror your choices, holding up a moral lens for you to examine yourself in an innocent child's eyes. I'd actually even go further and say the whole franchise seems to be about children and violence, from Clementine to Mariana to AJ. In a way, Season 4 echoes the same question posed by Season 1, but with far higher stakes. As players, and as members of society that values peace, we instinctively dislike violence, unless you're a psychopath. Yet when forced to choose between those we care for and those we despise, many of us will pull the trigger without hesitation. However, children are symbols of innocence, something we're wired to protect. That's why this game doesn't ask you to pull the trigger, it asks you to tell a child to do it. It's a masterstroke, forcing players to question their morality on a deeper, more emotional level. I know some of you might disagree with this interpretation, but in my view, Season 4 shines a spotlight on the role of violence, particularly when it involves children. The world in this game is dead, but does that mean our morality should die with it? And Episode 4, let's just say it takes this exploration to an entirely new level. After AJ shoots Lily, the boat's explosion triggers chaos, forcing everyone to scatter. The walkers drawn by the blast push AJ, Clementine, and 10 into a cave with James. Here, James loses control, lashing out and attempting to take AJ, blaming him for becoming a killer after shooting Lily. A heated argument erupts between James and Clementine, but it's interrupted by AJ's chilling honesty.
I liked it.
He liked killing Lily. He doesn't care if it's murder because she was trying to hurt them. His exact words, "Anybody who wants to hurt us should be dead." This moment encapsulates the weight of our choices. While violence can be necessary, a child like AJ can't grasp its nuance. He only knows he killed someone we told him to, and now he feels safer. Of course he thinks murder is justified. Despite the hate that James gets, I actually think he's right here. Without this confrontation, AJ might have buried those feelings, growing into something far darker. Clementine now has the chance to address this. I taught AJ that while killing may sometimes be necessary, it should never bring joy. AJ takes this lesson to heart, promising to make the right decisions and never enjoy them. At this point, he asks if he can be trusted to make the hard decisions. This moment is one of the most debated choices in the series. To me, everything AJ had done up to this point made sense. It was his mindset and methods that needed correcting. If AJ had shot Marlon while Marlon was actively pointing a gun at Clem, many people might have seen him as justified, but there's a reason that moment happens in Episode 1, while this choice is in Episode 4. It's not just about AJ's actions, it's about whether you have raised the right AJ. By teaching AJ that killing is wrong, not to be enjoyed, and only a last resort to protect others. I believed he could be trusted. This belief lays the foundation for his growth into someone capable of redemption and responsibility. Despite being just a 5-year-old, AJ may have already demonstrated, depending on your choices, that he not only listens but acts in line with the principles that you've taught him. Regardless, James will leave after this argument, never to be seen again. After exiting the cave, we reunite with Lewis. Together we share some light-hearted moments, imagining a dream house, before arriving at a half-collapsed bridge. As we attempt to cross, Minnie, now deranged and bitten, confronts us, fixated on her brother, Tennessee. A fierce battle ensues, ending with Clem injured and Ten frozen in place, refusing to leave. With Clem and AJ across the bridge, Lewis fights to drag Ten over, but Ten won't budge. Desperate to get to his sister, AJ makes a gut-wrenching decision. He shoots Ten to save Lewis. Two things stand out here. First, Ten was AJ's best friend, making this an agonizing choice he didn't want to make. Second, if we hadn't trusted AJ in the cave, he wouldn't have acted, leading to Lewis or Violet's death. This is one of the rare moments where a major decision happens without our direct input, and honestly, AJ made the right call. During the escape, Clementine attempts to climb some rocks, but gets bitten. What follows is a heartbreaking scene as Clem struggles to move, her strength fading. AJ takes charge, guiding her to James's barn, now overrun with walkers. In gameplay reminiscent of Lee's death, AJ must secure the barn while Clementine, helpless, looks on. It's devastating to watch history repeat itself. AJ, unwilling to face life alone, initially wants to die with Clem. She refuses, giving him one final lesson to ensure she doesn't turn. The screen fades to black as AJ raises the axe. Slowly, the scene shifts. Fire particles fill the air, the environment turning blood red. We're at McCarroll Ranch. The devastation is overwhelming, death and destruction at every turn. In the nursery, a caretaker pulls a gun on Clem, forcing her to kill. In a small locker, we find Alvin Jr., terrified and traumatized. Clem gently picks him up, promising to protect him. His tiny, frightened face is gut-wrenching. This is where all his trauma begins, and it's utterly heartbreaking. Back in the present, we play as AJ, fishing with Rosie. It's a wholesome moment until we encounter Walker 10. Intriguingly, Walker 10 holds his hands just like he did in life. Noticing this, I chose to let AJ give 10 peace, putting him to rest. We then walk back to the school without Clementine, accompanied by Take Us Back, the beautiful ending song from Season 1. AJ brings his bucket of fish to Omar before the iconic
What you doing there, goofball?
Clementine is alive, one-legged but alive. When I first played, I thought for sure Telltale would actually kill her off, but thankfully they didn't. Clem shows AJ a swing made from a tire, and AJ declares this the best day ever. The story concludes with a grand feast, surrounded by the remaining children. It's a bittersweet ending, leaving us just one lingering question. Did you raise AJ right?
Of course you did. What are you crazy?
Maybe a little.
A lot more than a little.
In the final moments, we control AJ one last time. He places Clementine's hat on a desk before running off to enjoy his childhood. Finally safe. Finally happy.
I'm coming.
Before diving into my thoughts, I'm excited to announce that once we hit 2,500 subscribers, I'll host a poll on which The Walking Dead game character deserves a full essay. Stay tuned on the community page for updates. Okay, let's start with what I loved about Season 4. Then we'll touch on some critiques. Season 4 is phenomenal. It feels like Telltale reflected on what made Season 1 so beloved and elevated those ideas. The theme of protecting a child's innocence returns, but instead of simply replicating Season 1, they evolved it. AJ isn't just a passive observer, he absorbs everything you say and do, shaping who he becomes. This gives the story incredible emotional depth, making AJ feel like a living, breathing character rather than a scripted NPC. As a protecting, guiding figure, Season 4 surpasses Season 1. Your choices carry weight, and by the end you see how AJ internalized your teachings, even in small, unexpected ways. It's a brilliant progression from earlier seasons' limitations, and emphasizes the consequences of your actions. The supporting cast is also a highlight. While they're no Lee or Kenny, characters like Ten, Lewis, and Violet stand out with distinct personalities and meaningful arcs. Even smaller characters like Asim, Omar, and Ruby feel cohesive, which is more than I can say for some forgettable additions in past seasons. Lily's return was also a great choice. Her evolution into a war-hardened soldier fits her arc, even if her reappearance feels a little bit too coincidental. Still, it works within the narrative. Now, onto some flaws. James's arc felt a little inconsistent, especially when he abandoned his pacifist beliefs so easily. Similarly, Lewis's punishment compared to Violet's seemed a little uneven to me. I also felt that Minerva's storyline overshadowed Lily's, and her near superhuman resilience broke immersion. I mean, she was literally bitten in the face and still walking. There's just absolutely no way this wasn't plot armor. Despite these issues though, they don't detract too much from the overall experience. Season 4 builds on the series' foundation, sometimes even surpassing it. I will say, Season 1 remains my favourite, though this final season cements itself as a worthy conclusion to an unforgettable journey, and 96% of you enjoyed this season too. Finally, thank you to this amazing community. This marks my last full game essay for The Walking Dead, but I'll continue making videos on specific characters or theories when they come. Your support has been incredible. Let's roll out the outro one last time. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please feel free to subscribe, like, or dislike.
I wish I had something more to give you. You've been feeling bad this time of year. If I could, I would drive out to see